Before we get started, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Jason Wilkinson with Prodigy Homes. I've been building homes for going on 21 years now. I've personally constructed over 450 homes. Actually, this year it's looking more like it's getting up to 500 homes. Worked with a huge national builder to accumulate a lot of those homes. So what I want to talk about today is just kind of give everybody a different aspect or a different look on how homes are built, okay? And just to gauge the room a little bit, has anybody in here ever built a new home before? You have? Have you guys built them yourself, or did you hire a builder to do those?
I built two.
You built two yourself? Well, great, great. How about you?
We used a contractor, but we ended up having him subcontract some stuff out.
Gotcha. And that'll go into a little bit of the talk too.
Would not do that again.
There's many ways to build a home. You could do it yourself. I wouldn't recommend it, but you can. It's an entire job all in itself. So how many here live in a home? Okay, everybody lives in a home. So your home, actually, the way I look at it, the way I whenever I'm building the house, I look at it is your house is actually alive. It's funny to kind of think about that, but it's got a skeleton, all the framing members and everything. It's got all the guts inside. It's got your plumbing. You know, that's all your digestive system. It's got your HVAC, your breathing, your your brain functions in there, all the electrical, side of things. And you actually need to treat your house as if it is that way too. Give it regular checkups, check on it, during like twice a year maintenance programs with HVAC companies and plumbing companies and things like that. Another way to look at your home is that it's a giant 3D puzzle that is constructed. It's put together. It doesn't come in a box. It's got like a 2D piece of black and white paper that you look at, and then you go, okay, here's the 3D puzzle that we're going to construct. Not only that, but it's a 3D puzzle that you live in. It's got to function, and it's got to look really cool, right? It's got to look nice and things like that. So does there anybody have any idea of how many parts and pieces go into a home? Like, just take a guess. Counting every nut, bolt, screw, piece of sheetrock, shingle. No guess? How about you? You got a guess?
No.
It's 1.4 million parts and pieces. So, and that was done by a study by D.R. Horton, who's the largest residential construction company on basically the planet. And so they build a lot of homes every year. I'll get into that in a little bit. So they were able to calculate out how much. And not only that, there's individual puzzles that are inside that big 3D puzzle, like your cabinet set. Your cabinets, there's an average of about 50 pieces in each cabinet, and then there's an average of about 50 cabinets in your house. That's a larger home. But it just goes to show you that there's so many parts and moving pieces. And on top of that, there's an average of about 50 companies that come together to construct this 3D puzzle. So I would be the one that's coordinating the timing and everything that's coming in there, but you have all the way from the guy that drops off the porta potty out in the front. It's a pretty integral part of building a house. People don't realize that, but starting from that, going all the way to the guy that makes the keys, So those 50 companies have an average of about 10 people per company. It's 500 people, 1,000 human hands coming together to build a 1.4 million part and piece 3D puzzle that has to function and look pretty. And most of the time, buyers, it's their largest investment they've ever made. So whether it's a $150,000 home or it's a $1.5 million home, the buyer feels the same way, and we treat them the same way, that everything's got to be right, everything's got to be nice and functional at the end. So this 1.4 million part and piece puzzle, constructed by 1,000 human hands, it's done in such a way that, like any puzzle, here, for example. Like any puzzle, it has what we builders refer to as a recipe. So you got a puzzle here. So the recipe is an algorithm. So does anybody know what an algorithm is? You probably computer tech, right? You know what an algorithm is? It's the certain steps to anything. There's an algorithm on how to make a grilled cheese sandwich, right? You can't put the bread and the cheese. I mean, there's a certain way you got to do it, right? You got to start here, next step, next step, next step, next step. So, like I said, the algorithm, like this right here, is child's play compared to building a home, but it's the same thing. It's a puzzle. So if you know how the puzzle works, you can figure it out. So that recipe, each builder has their own recipe. There's different styles of homes to choose from. So what I mean by different styles of homes is you have, put that there, you have production building homes, which let's say it's on a sliding scale. So if production builders are over here and custom builders are over there against the wall, I'm what you would call a semi-custom. So I'm kind of in the middle. So we have our own floor plans that you can kind of modify and change, and we have a lot of color selections to choose from. I also would say we're kind of a high-end production builder, you know, because it's more on the luxury scale of things that we do. And on this total end on the side over here, for custom builds, you get to pick anything you want, however you want it. It's your floor plan. It's a one-off. Nobody's going to build this plan again. And that doesn't mean that it has to be a super luxury, multi-million-dollar home. It just means it's one-off. You hired a contractor to build it specifically for that. Now on this scale over here, say D.R. Horton that I told you about. Do you want to take a wild guess on how many homes they built last year? It blew me away. So 40,000. 40? No. God, no. There wasn't 40,000 homes built in Tri-Cities in the last 20 years. What's the average of 1,200?
Yeah, roughly.
Something like that per year that Tri-Cities does. So 40,000 homes, I did the math. If they put it on a 100-foot wide lot and built them on one side of the street, like made a, let's say, D.R. Horton highway, at 60 miles an hour, it would take you 11 hours to pass them all. Wow. So these guys don't change anything. If you wanted to change a swing on a door, they'd be like, nope. Next. Then you've got other production builders, like the ones here in town that you're going to hear of are like Aho or Hayden Homes. They're production home builders. So they have about 12 to 15 different floor plans. Those are the floor plans they build. They really don't modify them. They let you pick A, B, or C selections in there. They're really nice homes. And then you have, like I said, somewhere in the middle would be where I live, where you can come in. We've got about 12 to 15 different floor plans. Now we got more because we modify it, and then it's a new plan. It's the Beethoven 2, or it's a modified version of that. So it's all about kind of tailor fitting our house to what you would need. Whether it's, you got a mother-in-law's quarters that you need, so we can add on to the back of it, maybe put a suited bedroom with a little kitchenette or something in there for you, that sort of thing. And like I said, on the other end of the scale would be the true custom home builders that they don't build anything twice. They just build the same thing. Hey, Gage, how you doing? So on this end of the scale, like I said, you can do anything you want. Now the price is going to go up a little bit, because it's a one-off. The guys that down at that end of the scale, they know exactly what that house cost them, down to the penny. And they watch market analysis on lumber going up or materials going up, so they adjust the pricing of their houses for that. Over there at that end of the scale, he basically tells you it's a cost plus job. So whatever the house costs, it'll cost plus 15% would be the builder markup on it. So if the house costs you $100,000, he would make $15,000 building that house. There's no houses costing $100,000, right, Vicki? Not anymore. So that's kind of the kind of the scale on production building versus custom in building. Now, building the house yourself. So that could get a bit tricky. A lot of people come to me and they say, well, we're thinking about just building it ourselves. So, you know, I don't know if the numbers are gonna work out. I can probably get it done cheaper. It's probably not the case, because as I'm building a home, I have contractors, you know, I build about 30 homes per year is on average there. So my contractors, year after year, I build 30 homes, so they give me a decent break on product, labor, you know, everything that goes into the home that they wouldn't necessarily give to an average person that's going to build their own house. Matter of fact, sometimes those guys may mark it up a little bit because they know it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to get in their time frame window that they want, that all the materials are going to be there, everything's going to be ready, nobody else is going to be on top of them, like another contractor trying to do the plumbing. Or so what I do is I give them ample time, ample, you know, information on what needs to be done, and then I give them an ample window on when to get it done. And I let them know that they need to be done by that time because the next guy is going to be behind them. So the contractors we work with love working for us because they know exactly what they need to do, where they need to be, and what needs to be done, and that there's not going to be anybody else on top of them. So getting back to what I was saying, that sometimes the subcontractors and suppliers will mark it up a little bit. So instead of being the regular price, I get maybe a 10 or 15% break on it. They may add 10 or 15% on the tail of it, knowing that they might have to make multiple trips back to that home because, hey, it wasn't ready, all the material wasn't there, that kind of thing. So I don't make 15%. So if that tells you anything. 10% is a great day for me if I make, which I usually don't make that either. So if I'm getting a 15% break, I'm only making 10% on top of it, whereas you're not getting that 15% break, and you're having to do all the work yourself anyway, and it may take you twice as long as it takes me, because I've got that algorithm down. I've got that recipe down. So building your own home, I would advise against it, but then again, I can't. It's kind of like, you know, if I had to have appendix surgery, I'm not going to lay on the table myself and try to with a mirror. I'm not going to do that. Even though I've done lots of Googling on it and I know how it's done. Same thing with a lawyer. I'm not going to go represent myself in court because I'm just going to leave that to the professionals. So I'm not trying to per se talk you out of building the house yourself. I'm just giving you some information that if you can get in contact with a good builder, they can get that house built for you in a timely manner and at a decent price, rather than trying to build that yourself. Hold on just a second. Now it's dry. So the recipe, I'm not going to get into all the minutia of the home building process. I'll touch on what we call milestones of building a home. So the milestones are going to have like hundreds of things between these milestones that you would need to, well, you wouldn't need to do it unless you were, if you're building your own house, you would need to know these. But number one is going to be your foundation stage. You know, you're going to want to get your foundation in. Now, in order to do that, you have to do excavation, a lot of, you know, plugging in all the utility lines, things like that. So that's one of the milestones, is getting the foundation poured. The next milestone would be framing. So starting framing. Coordinate the lumber drop, get the framing package out there, line up the framers and what they need to do, any changes that need to be made. And I kind of skipped the first one actually, which would be permitting. So depending on where you're at, different jurisdictions, like here in the Tri-Cities, it's crazy because you've got, if you're going to build in Pasco, you need to permit with Pasco. Same thing with Kennewick, Richland, West Richland. If it's out in the county, it needs to be Benton County or Franklin County. So, and every one of them is a little bit different. They require certain things, and that's another thing as a builder. The builder's going to know exactly what they want, and they're going to get it to them in a timely manner, rather than trying to fumble your way through that permitting process. It takes a while. When I first moved up here 16 years ago, like I said, each area is different, so it was a little learning curve on trying to figure out exactly what they wanted. So you go from permitting to foundation to framing. So, and framing, once the framing goes on, the trusses go on, roof gets in, windows get put on, and that's what we call the house being dried in. It means it's basically protected from the weather. Once that goes on, we have the rough ends. So that's when they do all your roughing in of the plumbing, HVAC, electrical, security, or low voltage wiring if you need to do that. And a good way I put it is PACE, the word PACE. It's plumbing, AC, and electric. So it needs to go in that order in the algorithm, in the kind of recipe to build. So after you get all your rough ends done, that's basically the midway point of the house. So you have a front end of the build, and you have a back end of the build. And they're like two different animals. A lot of the big builders actually will take and have front end construction managers where they pass the house to the guy that's on the back end. So, and that's it works pretty well for those guys. But the thing is, you know, that's not a true full builder. It's somebody that can just do the front end and just do the back end. So like I said, after the rough ends go in, it's dried in, all the plumbing lines are ran, HVAC lines are ran. It's the midway point, the tipping point of the house, from front end to back end. So all of the inspections go through at that point. So the majority of the inspections, I should say, of the home. You have a lot in the beginning as far as the foundation and things like that. And then you have a few at the end. But the majority of them are in the middle where they do all the plumbing, electrical, HVAC, gas lines, shear inspection, framing inspection. So the majority of the inspections are right there in that midway tipping point. And then we'll go into the back end where they're delivering drywall, insulating the walls. Insulation inspection happens at that point. And these days we have Energy Star rated homes that we build. So we have to have an Energy Star verifier, third-party inspector, come in and verify that the insulation's done properly. And there's so many different things if you're building these days. I mean, you have a 2015 Energy Code standards that we abide by today, which is like this far away from Energy Star. They're energy guidelines that you have to abide by to build homes here. Like I said, they're this far away from Energy Star rating. So we go ahead and go the little extra step, hire the verifier, so you can have a Energy Star certified home. But after that's done, hang up the drywall. So now it starts looking more like a home at this point. Start doing the drywall and we start doing the exterior of the house. Whether it's the siding that goes on or the stucco that goes on. So we start those steps. And this time of year, it's kind of hard to do it right now with all the snow that we got on the ground. So once it takes about 2 weeks for the drywall to, I mean, it's hung up, takes a couple of days, but then to do what we call tape and float. They come and they finish all the seams up, they texture it, paint the walls. Takes about 2 weeks to get that done. And within that 2 weeks, we're delivering all the flooring materials, the trim package, the cabinets, which have been ordered out, by the way, a good 6 weeks ago. You know, the guy comes out, as soon as we're framing, they're measuring the house to field verify that the cabinets are going to work, trim's going to work, things like that. So as those things are being delivered, finishing up, that's when we get into all the labor force of installing all that flooring, cabinets, trim. Then they're going to paint the trim. So that milestone would be trim, you know, the trim stage of the game, where they're installing it all, which is funny. My owner of Fine Finish and Floors is right over here. This is the guy we used to put in all those cabinets and flooring and trim. After that's done, have it all painted. The countertops have been templated. So there's a guy cutting all the granite and everything off site, brings it out to site, and installs that. We have coming up to what we call our trim out stage of the plumbing, and it's in the same order: plumbing, HVAC, and electrical. They come in and put in all the fixtures and all of the trim work, as far as the lighting package and the HVAC, all the vents and furnaces, and kick off the fireplace. And it basically starts looking more like a home. And then in the end of it, we have what we call a builder punch phase, where me and my quality control guy will go through the house, making a nice long list of all the little things that all the subcontractors either dropped the ball on or didn't do quite right or said that's good enough and walked away. So it's kind of our job to make sure that, you know, it's a good quality product. So coming up on the end of the job, we have it all cleaned up. It's a construction clean. So we pull off all of the protective paper that's on the floors, wipe everything down, get into cleaning all the little spots and tubs and everything. And then we have what we call a buyer orientation, where I take the buyers room by room, and if it's operable, we make sure it's operating. If it needs a little paint touch up, we'll stick some blue tape on there for them. And that's usually about a week to a week and a half before closing. So it gives us a little time to button up the house and, you know, put a little polish on it and put a bow on it, so to speak, because it's coming up pretty close to being done. And I didn't even mention the outside of the house as far as landscaping and all that kind of stuff. Like I said, there's so many different steps. There's what I've got in my algorithm, in my recipe. It's about 130 steps that goes in. Now, each one of them requires a lot of different back and forths and verifications and confirmations and things like that as they go along, especially things like the cabinets and things like that. But to help me out, I say to help me out, I mean, it's not really helping me out. Any builder that builds more than, let's say, 5 homes a year is going to need some kind of help as far as keeping track of all this stuff. People ask me all the time, you know, what color is this supposed to be, or what's that supposed to be, or what's this, or, you know, how am I supposed to do this? Hold on. So I go over here and I grab my tablet and I click on this little icon over here. We must be in a bad spot. Oh no, I still have it on airplane mode. Sorry. I just came back from the IBS, the International Builder Show in Las Vegas, just yesterday. So it's still on there. No, give me a second. Gotta love technology. So I click on Builder Trend. So here's all the jobs I have right now that are going. So I can click on any one of these jobs. Gives me my to-dos. I take daily photographs every day, progress photos of the job. There's about 8 to 10 every day that I take. So anything that changes on the job site, I'll snap a picture of it. At the end of the day, I'll label it and upload it. So not only that, it's got daily logs. It's got a view the schedule in here. So it's got a nice color-coded schedule that shows everything from, like I said, breaking ground all the way to Energy Star verification, builder punch, you know, that all that is in here. And it's all linked to the contractors. So the way I have it set up in the system is as soon as I change it, it automatically changes the rest of the schedule, and I hit email and everyone is emailed about the change. So efficiency is way up as far as, you know, people don't have dry runs out to the job site, show up and it's not ready. Well, if I let them know, hey, the weather, you know, delayed this job by 1 day, you know, it moves it over and everybody's on the same page. But not only that, there's a messaging center in here as well. So if somebody has a question about a job, they can message me in here, and it's all documented down the line. Our warranty process is phenomenal because it's all in here as well. As soon as I get any warranty call that comes in, say, hey, you know, my the handle seems to be, you know, won't work properly or whatever, I can automatically tag the trim company to that warranty and set up the day with them, and then as soon as it's done, it gets clicked off and checked in. So there's no paperwork involved in that. But the nice thing about this system is you as a buyer would get your own login as well. So you would see all those daily photographs. You see a 2-week color-coded outlook on the schedule. the messaging center is in there for you as well. You can say, hey, I thought I was supposed to have an accent color paint on the wall there. And I could just say, yeah, that's usually done at the end whenever we're doing the touch-ups, that kind of thing. So it's really easy, transparent system. So you don't feel like you're in the dark, like biting your nails, wondering what's happening as your home's getting built. It's all right there in front of you. When I started 21 years ago, there was nothing like that on the market. It was all a spiral notebook, taking notes, making a ton of calls in the office. You know, you had to go walk all your jobs, then come back to the office and make all the phone calls. And when you're making those phone calls, the guys you're calling are usually in the field working, so they check them in the evening and get back with you the next day. And so, and building for 21 years, I've seen this progression. You know, we went from not having that to now we have Nextels. We can communicate with each other by the, you know, I don't know if any of you remember Nextels. Yeah. And then, of course, the cell phone came out. A nice flip open, pull up the antenna, and talk on that, which was great. But we were still, you know, having to work off that spiral notebook. Still having to, in our head, you know, come up with, okay, this moved. It dictates when this can start now, when that starts, or when that, you know, you kind of got to go out. So I call it like a 2-week train. So I run a 2-week train, so you can see what's happening within that 2 weeks. So if it derails, which it will, it seems to be my job is running around the train fixing stuff as it's going down the road. So if it derails, it's only 2 weeks. You know, you can put it back on the track, call everybody, get that next 2 weeks going. But as a builder, it's come a long way with this. And then we went from that, I worked with the 11th largest builder in the nation back in Dallas, Texas. So they went into what they called a 16-week schedule. So it's 4 months basically to build a house. So we did it from 90 to 120 days. We built these houses, which was blazing fast. And they weren't like little cookie cutter homes either. They were 3,200 square foot, all brick, Corian countertop, nice homes. But like I said, they didn't change anything. They did not change anything. But they went to this 16-week schedule, which is really nice because they had these PDAs, I don't even remember those, that they handed out to all their builders. And you can keep track of that 16-week schedule, put it on this little cradle and hot sink it right into the main frame of the company there, so they can all keep a track on where their product is, which is great because I'm doing the same thing, but it's just me. So I'm keeping track of all the builds all at once with this program. It's called Builder Trend, and it's an amazing software that builders can use. So on top of that, the software also it has all of the documents loaded in there, all the contracts, all of the construction documents as far as the floor plans, layouts, exterior layouts. Which so if somebody's on the job, instead of calling me and saying, "Hey, is this supposed to have corbels, you know, in the peaks?" they can just pull up the exterior layout, punch on it. It's all approved, ready to go, and it's so much easier for them. The communication is so much better with this program that we use. So that 21 years of building has been a progression. So I'm always on the lookout for something that's going to help me keep track of the houses that we build. Now, 30 homes a year it's not all that much. Have you guys been in any of our homes? Have you been to a parade of homes? You have? Yeah? Okay. Great. So you kind of know what product we're doing. So a lot of people, I tell them, yeah, we built that in 6 months. And they go, what? You know, it's award-winning, 3,000 square foot home. But the reason why we're able to do that is because of systems like this. It's because I don't have a superintendent either. I have a quality control guy and an assistant superintendent, just for eyes and ears out there for me if things go wrong and make sure everybody's got what they need. But it's me. So I've got a buck stops here kind of attitude. Anything that happens on that job site, it's my fault. If it's right or wrong. Hopefully it's right, Hopefully it's right. I say that kind of, hopefully it's right, because my mantra is every house, every room, every day. So it's not like I just sit behind my counter and look at this going on and hope everything goes okay. I walk in every job, every house, every room. So as soon as I see something that is a little off track or off kilter from what we're trying to accomplish, my move is to, I thought I had my back pocket. I take out this and I call somebody. And then as soon as I call them and figure out where it needs to be, it's a couple of clicks in my schedule, and it shifts and moves and communicates with everyone to get what we need. You had your hand up.
Yeah. What kind of home loan do you like? What kind of building loan do you like this?
That I like?
That you like?
Okay. I'd like to carry your loan and just take care of everything for you. Yep. I'll carry your loan. I'll do a construction loan of my own. That way you at the end would just have one-time close. You just go and get a conventional loan and go for it. Does that work out for everybody? No. So some people are like, well, it's going to cost me a little less money. I know there's 2 closings involved, but I can get my own construction loan. Some people are like, they want to get in the driver's seat and take care of all that themselves. That's fine. But I like it. It's short and sweet. I can go get a loan for it. And
So would I'm going to get pre-approved to do a bill.
with me?
Possibly. So I go to the bank, I get pre-approved, and then I show the builder
Absolutely.
approval,
You can talk to one of these ladies too over here.
and then you carry based on that approval.
Yes, sir.
How that works?
Yep.
And then you do, what is it, 20%?
10%.
10%?
Yeah, we'll do 10%.
We're off.
Yep, and we're off to the races. So, and in the beginning processes too, that's a good segue into what I was going to talk about next, is when you're sitting down with that builder, if you came in and said, okay, Jason, I love your Bravo floor plan. Let's build that. That's great. So I can just go and permit it, and we can, find a lot to put it on and go. If we're going to modify those plans and put in that mother-in-law suite, or push the back wall out, or you don't want the curved thing on the ceiling, or whatever the case may be, we do a plan revision where I send it back to my guy. He does his little adjustments in there. It takes about a week, week and a half, 2 weeks. We sit down at the table again, kind of go over it again, make sure everything is in the right spot. Because once we permit, I don't want to change anything else. That's a major pain in the butt. But from that point, once permitting goes, we have a good start date. So like the closing date, it hinges primarily on that start date. So for a builder, that is the go time, because that's when everything it's in my hands and I'm in the driver's seat at that point. Because once it's at the jurisdiction of the county, I'm pretty much just waiting on them to get their thing done. And then once it comes back out, we can get started on it. And as far as loans go, yeah, we can work with whichever type of loan you want to work with. As long as you're pre-approved and everything's good to go, we go from that point.
It's probably easier, I assume, to go through.
Yeah, and it's easier for the buyer too. Like I said, you may save a couple $1,000s by getting your own construction loan, but that's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, and it's 2 closings too. Well, somebody could save a couple $1,000s. Somebody that's into saving every little penny, that's what's the saying? There's nothing more expensive than another man's money, right? So when you go for that loan, really depends on, and you can talk to, like our preferred lender. I love working with them as Prime Lending. So you can go down to Prime Lending, get a pre-approval, and he can show you all the different options of all the different homes. Anything. What is it? 725 is a jumbo loan. So anything below that, there's lots of different options on that. He actually is offering a tiny, like a 1% or something like that for Prodigy buyers. So, which is great. That's good. 1% can add up when you're talking, $700,000. So, next thing I kind of wanted to get into is choosing a builder, because, for this guy back here, once you get your pre-approval, you're wondering, okay, who do I go with? First thing is go look at some houses, right? That's going to help you out a lot. When you go through the house, you can feel for it. I'm going to tell my wife, I don't buy any furniture on the internet. I just don't do it. I've got to sit in it. I've got to feel it. I've got to touch it. And homes are no different to me. Once you figure out 3 or 4 that you like, I like this builder, I like that builder, start setting up appointments. Go talk to them. That's a very important step in somebody building your home. So let's say you're building with Aho or Hayden. Are you going to meet the builder? No, you're not. But in that semi-custom range, you're probably going to sit down with the guy that's building your house and talk to him about building a house, and you're going to have an interview with him, and it's kind of a two-way interview as well. I'm going to be straight up with you, because it's a 1.5-year marriage basically between the builder and the buyer. It's going to take me about a half a year to build a house, and then I hold a full 1 year, actually it's a 2-year warranty on the mechanical side of things. I have a 1-year warranty at the end of that. And then at the end of the process, at the end of that 1 year, it goes over to a 2-year mechanical warranty, and then a 10-year structural warranty. That's through 210 warranty that we have. But you're going to want to ask important questions to the builder. Like, first of all, like, who's building my house? Do I get to meet them? What is the communication going to be like? Am I going to have communication along the way? Like back in Texas, we called the buyers once a week. We never met with them until the end. It was full production, so it was like they knew exactly what they were getting in the very beginning. So you want to, as far as experience goes with the builder, I've always said it's not the amount of years you've been doing it. It's the amount of happy homeowners, happy closings that you've done. Like I said, I built over 450 homes now. I kind of know how to build a house. But you definitely want to know that you have a good rapport with that builder. Ask important questions. Like I said, how long have you been building? Can I see some of your product? Can I talk to some of your past clients and buyers? That's another great question to ask. Also about the financing side of things like that. You definitely want to ask those questions as well. Like I've always said, I'm not wearing them now, but when you go in to interview him, look at his boots. That'll tell you right there if he's walking job sites or not. If he's got some ratty, torn up boots, he's on the job site. So that's pretty much, I know this was a 50-minute class here or seminar. I kind of wanted to open it up to any other questions you guys might have for me.
Build with SIPs.
Did I build with what?
SIPs.
SIPs.
Yep. SIPs. They're all one package. Actually, it's a house that's already on and put together.
No. He asked if I build with SIPs, and it sounds like it's more like a kit, like a.
Oh yeah, but I had built houses and designed houses, and what I do is send my designs to a SIP builder.
Oh, okay.
And they build the house, and then I have to have it put together.
Right. Just assembled basically at that point.
Yeah.
No, we are what we call a stick builder. So foundation sticks up.
What the difference is that I can have R70 under the ropes.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. So ours is R49. It's pretty good, but R70 is. Talking about R values and insulation.
And R45 in the floor.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't do that.
No, we are strictly a stick built operation right now, and we use 2x6 walls, 16 on center. They're not 2x4 single wall.
And that house I'm trying to sell is 8-inch walls.
Yeah. Well, you can do like full ICF too, and I'm not against doing an ICF, but I don't do ICF. And ICF block walls, I don't know if you guys are familiar with them. It's basically concrete walls. They have these kind of styrofoam form foundations, and they pour the concrete all the way up and in. And it's a little tricky, and there's a certain way to do it, and the R value on those are amazing. But we don't do those as well. I've thought about doing those.
We can stick them with Bridget's home and achieve
Oh yeah.
even greater
Mhm.
R value.
Right, exactly. Well, there's plenty of ways to achieve super high R values on the houses. I get what you're saying, though.
Yeah, also, I just ordered, just bought a chair that, since I only have the left hand, all the chairs are right-handed.
All of them?
Yes.
You're kidding me.
So I got one,
Custom made.
yep.
Yep.
all, electric.
Mm-hmm.
So I just run it over.
Mm-hmm.
But it's different when I looked at and I go, oh yeah, this is really good. When it comes in, it's different.
Well, and that's one of the things, about doing like a modular home. Us being so semi-custom, we're constantly changing it. It just doesn't make us any sense.
Furniture.
Oh yeah. Anybody else? Yes. Yes.
Are you able to do smaller homes or maybe handicap accessible?
Absolutely. We've done ADA homes, full ADA homes, or just more handicap friendly homes. If you just wanted to put in 3.0 doors or have the cabinets with an open space in certain areas, things like that. We also like to build slab foundations, so that way that's a single level entrance into your house. There's no steps going into your house. Same thing with the shower. Whenever we do our slab foundations, we're able to push the shower in. That way there's no curb at all to get into the shower. You just roll right in. Things like that. Anybody else? You don't have a question, man? You got a question, don't you? No. All right. Well, he's got a lot of questions, I'm sure. Yes.
I have one. We found a plan that we're considering. I think got it off the internet,
Mm-hmm.
and we want to make a slight change to it, like get rid of the formal dining room and turn that into like a study
Mhm.
computer room, and enlarge the breakfast room a little bit, push it out a little bit.
Mhm.
Is that something we would need to go to a professional to have that redone, or could the builder do that?
The builder can do that. He's usually going to outsource it to a designer. Some builders have in-house designers where they actually can do that kind of thing. But yeah, you can bring it to a builder and say, yeah, we really love this plan. Or maybe you say, I like this and this and this about the plan. If you like 3 things about your plan and you're trying to change 6 things, it just kind of makes more sense to start off with what you do need out of it rather than what you want to change about it. Because they may pull out a floor plan that you've never seen before and it's got exactly what you want, and with some of those changes, maybe a little modification of what they want to do to it. Like if you were to look online on our website, you may see something that you like about one of these homes that you found on yours, and then you can pay just a nominal fee to modify that instead of starting from scratch and drawing a whole new floor plan.
That gets pretty expensive, doesn't it?
It does. It's running right now about $1.65, $1.80 a square foot. No, about $1.85, $1.95 a square foot. So you can average about $2 a foot. Got a 3,000 square foot house, probably going to cost you about $6,000 to have it designed, to drawn up. Versus if you were to go on my website and say, yeah, I like your Beethoven floor plan, and I want to modify A, B, and C, it may cost you $800 to $1,000 just to do those modifications.
So what is your website?
My website, I've got some cards. I'm going to leave at the table. Got some cards here that you guys can swing by and grab one. And I'm going to be at the Century 21 booth. They have a booth set up. So I'll just leave these up here for you guys if you want to. So you guys wondering if I can actually solve this?
Yeah, let's see it.
You guys got a couple of minutes? All right. You want to mess it up?
No.
Come on. You want to mess it up?
It's already.
All right, it's already messed up, right? Okay, you ready? Okay, like I said, this is child's play compared to actually building a house. And all it is knowing how it works and what the next step is on putting it together. Oh, come on, where are you at? There you are. Okay, got there.
Are there any current trends in home building that you would not recommend?
Current trends in home building right now, you know, we've kind of got our style as Prodigy Homes. We're kind of in the middle of like a modern home, and like we take traditional plans. It's called transitional. So it's not the kind of modern homes that makes you feel like you're in a doctor's office and it's all, you know, cold feeling. So what we do is we just kind of take that original shell and we'll add cool lighting fixtures to it, cool paint, accent colors, faux finishes, things like that.
So modernize the traditional.
Right. It's what we call transitional. So it's in between that full modern and that, when I say modern, like that doctor's office kind of feel modern, and then you're, you know, just regular old house kind of thing. We're almost to the middle.
This is a little bit off topic,
Mm-hmm.
but we're kind of torn between remodeling our old place or replacing it with a new one on the same lot.
Right.
What kind of
You're
thought
talking about
process-
just dozing the whole thing and just putting another one on the same lot?
Yeah.
That could get expensive.
Oh, it's just a mobile phone.
Oh, that's not very expensive. Just put the hitch on it.
Yes.
And away she goes. So where's your lot at?
Benton City.
Does it have
It's got
city water,
utilities.
all the utilities there?
We live there now.
Okay, great. Beautiful.
So what sort of things should we bear in mind? Like what are the advantages of building new versus trying to retrofit something?
Remodeling can get pricey, and the advantage, I say the full advantage of building new would be the fact that there's a large warranty that's attached to it as well at the end. So it's brand new. You have all the higher end. You don't have like copper in the walls and things like that. You have PEX lines, electricals all way up to current specs, inside and out from the ground up. That's why I tell buyers too, I don't do remodels. I don't even remodel my own houses. I don't do remodels at all. I'm too focused on building. But at the same time, you just never know what you're going to find when you tear off that wall or, you know, that kind of thing. So it's kind of tough. Look, you got me all out of whack now. There you go. I'm almost there. Getting closer. There it is. And with that, we'll call it a day.